I was born with 5 career options. To those who are born into Asian families, specifically Indian families, you will understand that we only have 5 career options. Doctor, lawyer, accountant, engineer, and dentistry. Someone told me yesterday gangsterism, I don't think so. Alright, so I was born and my mom and dad told me that they wanted me to be a doctor, right? So I grew up accepting that fate. And at 7 years old, my mother got even more specific. She told me that she wanted me to be a heart surgeon. So I grew up accepting the fate that I would have to repair people's heart for a living. But as time went on, I hit my teenage days and then puberty kicked in. So I started being more rebellious. And I always used to see how my friends' fathers were businessmen and they always had a very different life compared to the rest of us. So I always had the dream that, one day I want to be an entrepreneur. I did not tell my parents this because that is that sentence in my family, entrepreneurship is a bad word. Because it's not stable, is it? So I went on to college. I did pre-law. I managed to convince them that I'll do law. I did not tell them. I set up my first business when I was 18. Looking at a friend's father who was a developer and how rich they were with the bodyguards and all that. So I decided, I said, okay, let's go into construction. Let me just put on the record, I don't even know how to repair a cable, okay? So I set up a construction company and then I got my first job to paint a gym. So the next best thing is to outsource the job, right? So I got this contractor and she said, no worries, I'll do it for you. And I gave her the job, gave him the job, sorry. And the very next day, I went to check on the job. We were supposed to paint the wall and the ceiling different color. And I went and saw the next day, both are the same. And both had been spilling onto each other and it was the worst job I've ever seen. And the gym owner, I tell you, he was a very buff guy. He looked like one blow to me, I would be in coma. So I did not know what to do. So I went to him, I said, smile. I just smiled and I said, sir, job done. I took my check and I ran. I've never run that fast in my life. As you can see from my size, I can't run fast. So I ran very, very fast. Okay, anyway, I moved on from that. That was my first and last job. I decided I'm not going to do construction. I went back to law school. I finished law when I was 21. I went and met my father and I said, I want to be an entrepreneur. He gave me the look like I just told him a bad word, But he was supportive. He was supportive because I have already done my degree and it was up to me now what to do next. So I worked as a financial advisor for 3 years just so I can save up enough to open up my own company. And when I was 25, I set up my first company. And this was in financial advisory with a very old friend of mine. 4 months later, we set up our second company in doing mining, iron mining in Johor. And another 4 months after that, we set up our third company doing medical equipment supplies. And the next one we opened up, we didn't even wait 4 months, we opened in 2 months. But why I'm sharing this with you, it's not something I'm proud of. It was a stupid move. It was a stupid move. I was young and I did not plan properly. You see, I always hear, if you do not, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. This is something that I want to share with you. So we opened up 4 companies in less than the span of a year and a half. What is wrong with that? Is for a simple reason is that all our businesses are not stable, yet we are opening up more and more. So you're actually making the whole deeper and deeper. So the fourth business was an F&B outlet, and that caused the biggest problems for us. And when that started giving us problems, automatically all 3 or the others started giving us problems as well. Because you can't manage, it's only 2 hours. So we decided to part ways, and that is when everything started to crumble. We were getting sued by creditors, we were getting sued by EPF, SOXO. So this is something, and anyway, at that point, I just moved on, right? I went and set up another company with all these things going on, and I set up another company doing financial advisory again. So I started back from scratch again. A year later, I opened up a mobile application company because that was the trend. I saw everyone going into the mobile industry, so I did that. That company also failed because we did not roll out in time. And a year later, I opened up a training company because I was giving a lot of trainings to government agencies and corporates. So I decided to make it a business, right? So what I want to share with you today, what about my dream? Dream is broken up into 5 components, right? Dare to take the steps forward. What I want to share with you all is, everyone or most of us here want to be entrepreneurs at some point of our life. But do we actually take that first step forward? I was very scared at 25, to be very honest with you, because everything that was ringing in my head was failure. I was scared. And I always tell people that you must take that first step. You must be daring enough to take that first step. Because that is what is going to make the difference. You cannot be afraid to fail. I mean, it's normal to feel afraid. But if you don't take that first step, you don't know how far you'll be making your journey to. Right? And this is a quote I really love this quote. Good judgment comes with experience. Experience comes with bad judgment. Right? Does anyone not understand this quote? Alright. So this quote is basically that you will only have good judgment in your life if you have experience. And you only get experience with bad judgment. That means you have to make mistakes to get that experience so that you do not repeat that mistake again. R is reach out. When I faced all these problems as an entrepreneur, the only thing that kept me alive was I reached out to those whom I need to reach out to. My family, my loved ones, those people that were affected by my business failing. I reached out to them. And at that point, the one person that really stood by me was my girlfriend then, who's my wife now. And she told me that, if you're going to give up at this point, whatever you have fought for all these years is just going to go down the drain. Sometimes you don't need people to come and solve your problem. You just need them to come and give you a shoulder to cry on. And give you that assurance, everything will be alright. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but in due time, everything will be alright. E in dream is evolve. I've spoken to you about all the businesses that I have done. And the only reason I survived was because I'm able to evolve. I could wear the financial advisor cap. I could wear the miner cap. I could wear the restaurant owner. When you run a restaurant, you have to wear many hats. Let me tell you have to be the cashier, you have to be the drinks guy. You will sometimes have to be the cook also. So my biggest lesson came from the F&B outlet actually. But why you have to evolve? You have to be able to take up any role. Any role. You cannot say, oh, I'm a business owner, I'm not going to do this. No. The moment you say that, you better just close and walk off. Because you are as good as God. So evolving is very, very important. You need to know how to evolve. Even your business, once your business has reached a certain level, how do you take it to the next level? You need to evolve. You need to digitize. You need to know how to move forward. Evolving in today's world is very, very important because everything is moving very fast. And you don't evolve in time, your business may become irrelevant. Because if you know people like Nokia and all took it for granted, and today they're finding it hard to come back because it did not evolve in time. Right? A. Okay, this is a quote that I think is also very relevant. When a caterpillar thinks his life is about to end, it evolves to a beautiful butterfly. Sometimes, when we think that we have hit a dead end, but if we just take that one step forward, everything becomes very beautiful. And that is why it's very important to evolve, right? A. Accept failures and challenges. Sometimes you have tried your level best to keep your businesses afloat. You have tried all avenues to make it successful. You've tried whatever you can to take it to the next level, but it just doesn't work. So you got to accept the failure and move on. Sometimes I see some entrepreneurs, they are so stubborn. They want to push it to the next level, but it is just not going. And that is when they get into bigger problems. Because they are not able to sustain and they are making their lives even more difficult. So that is something I always say, you need to know when to stop. If you don't know when to stop, you will make your problems big. Right? And accepting challenges. This is something I want to relate to all of you. When I had my F&B restaurant, I did it with an African food concept because the restaurant was open in a very prominent area with high students from Africa. And we had so much problems internally, but we managed to overcome it. And then we started getting problems from the authorities because they were doing raids and all that. So there was one time that I was having very severe food poisoning, and my staff calls me, says, "Boss, can you come?" I said, "No, I'm actually very sick." Then he said, "No, I really think you have to come." I said, "Okay, why?" Oh, he says, 999 is here, customs is here, police is here, immigration is here. I said, "Who is not there?" Seems like everyone is there, you know. So, I mean, despite my health, I had to go because it was a big problem, you know, and this was a challenge, but I didn't look at it as a dead end, you know. So we went there and we sorted out with the authorities and asked them what was the issue, you know, and it is something that we had to accept to move on. We have no choice. So these challenges are very normal in entrepreneurship, okay? You have to be prepared to face all these things. It's not going to be a walk in the park. And finally, M, maximize your impact on others. I am a person who used to believe about this since a very young age. I grew up in a plantation because my dad was an estate manager. And I always used to see how the kids are neglected more often than not. So it was not money that I wanted to give. But I'll relate to you what happened when I was 12. We were given maids, and one of my maids' kids were at home in my house. So I was preparing to go to school, and I was wondering why is he not going to school. And so I went and asked my mother, and my mother asked the maid, and the maid said, "Oh no, we don't have money to send him to school." You know, for me, education and food are two things that is every human being's right, you know. And you have to. So what I did was basically I went and broke my savings box and I gave him the money to go to school. Because that is something I strongly believe you have to do for others. You know, it's called paying forward, you know. And I always believed that since a young age, and I will continue to do it no matter how long it takes. You have to have an effect on others. And that's why we always give talks outside, to share our experiences, to share what we believe, and share and teach, guide people where we can. You know, maximizing our effect on others is very important. And I will end my speech today with another quote. I always say, you as an entrepreneur, you have to live a few years like others won't. so you can live the rest of your life like others can't. Thank you.